up, guys? If you're looking to support the LocsNLoad YouTube channel, I would like for you guys to go to LocsNLoadFirearms.com and support the channel that way by purchasing a t-shirt or one of the other merches on there. If you're looking to support the Wagunda Nation store, go to WagundaNation.net and pick up a patch, a hat, or a t-shirt again from one of our Teespring stores on the site. If you're looking to get firearm instruction for me, LocsNLoadFirearmInstruction.com. If you also want to know about certain things before you buy it, LocsNLoad consultation service on that same website will get you right. If you also want to support the LocsNLoad Firearm channel, go to Patreon, become a member. $1 gets you in, $5 gets you more access, $10 gets you all that, plus help support the channel. So guys, get in there, rock it out. LocsNLoad out. What up, y'all? LocsNLoad Firearm Reviews here today. Alright, y'all. So a lot of y'all liked the video I did yesterday on the 16-inch AR15 barrel zero considerations. And so I said I was going to come back for you short barrel guys. Right? And so I was doing my little research before I was going to make a video, and I found this website that kind of breaks down from 10.3, 10.5, 14.5, 16, 18-inch barrels for AR15. So I'm going to do that here because what they do, they take M855, which is green tip. They take M193, which is that 55 grain FMJ, you know, American Eagle. And they have Mark 262, which is the 77 grain Black Hills unobtainium ammunition nowadays, right? So they have those three ammunitions broken down into 5 different barrel lengths for the AR-15, 10.3, 10.5, 14.5, 16, 18. And so the website I'm going on is armadynamics.com. I'll put down the link in the description so you guys can come by and see, because they also have one for a 16-inch AK-47. All right, so I'm gonna flip the camera here in a second so we can look at the screen and we can get right into it. All right, welcome back, y'all. Hopefully this angle is good enough for you guys. So here we are on the Arma Dynamics website. So zero considerations comparisons. I'll read this real quick. It says Arma recommends a 50-yard zero for your AR-15. You know, because they're talking about it's the most effective cinemass hits at a target between 200 and 250. All right. If you ask me, I prefer 36, but 50 is also great. So with that being said, let's get right into it. All right, first we have our 10.3, preferably I'm guessing it's a crane spec, because I think the crane's the only real ones that do a 10.3, at least do a 10.3 right. All right, and so for this chart we have our M193, so our FMJ, our 55 grain projectile we got from Academy, right? And so you can see right here where the red dot is where you're aiming. So the red dot is where you would actually put your optic on and then squeeze a shot, and the black dots show where your rounds would impact at that distance. All right, so 50-yard zero with a 10.3, you hit center mass. For the most part, with that 50-yard zero, everything within 200 yards, 250, you're going to be center mass. But now once you get out of 300, you see how far it drops. Now with a 100-yard zero, everything is still center mass out to 200. But you see at 300, you're really dropping. You're right at his fucking hip line. At the 300 yards, which is basically your 36 yard zero. So remember, 50, 200, 100, 100. Then you got 36, 300. Now, right? So as you can see with that 36 yard zero, 300 yard zero with your 10.3, all the way out to 300 yards, you are still center mass. Like granted, out 100, 200, you're hitting a little high, but still, you hit somebody in the throat at 200 with a 5.56, they're going down. You hit somebody right here, right below the neck, they're going down. All right, so all these hits right here at 300 yards with a 10.3 are effective hits. But as you see down here at 400 yards, you're fucking neutering people at 400 yards. So if that's your cup of tea, then you know, do you, boo boo. But as you can see, this is kind of why I like the 36 yard or 300 yard zero. Because all the way up to 300 yards, even with a 10.3, you don't have to hold, right? So you can just aim center mass on his chest and still get effective hits on target. And that's with the M193. Right? So we move down to the 10.5. Oh, my bad. See, look at this. It says 10.3, but it's really 10.5. My bad. They got a typo on the screen. It says 10.3, but they're really going with the 10.5. So this is with the 10.5. My bad, y'all. All right, so 10.5 with a M855. So that's a green tip, 62 grain FMJ. As you see, we got our feet per second. It's coming out a little slower than our M193. And so we're probably going to have more drops. As you can see, with the 50 yard zero, all the way up to 300, you're still on target. But at 300, you're going to have to do some little holdovers unless you want to hit him in the belly. At 100 yards, you're down at his hip line at 300, but out to 200 center mass. And with a 36 yard zero, again, all the way out to 300 yards, you were still center mass on that target. At the 400, you're neutering people. All right, 10.5 with the 77 grain Mark 262 unobtainium. Unless you want to pay a hell of like what, close to $30-40 for 20 rounds, right? But the round does exactly what it is supposed to do. And as you can see on the chart, again, pretty much the same thing across the board. Out to 200 for the 50 yard and the 100 yard zero, your center mass. Once you get to 300, you can still hit them at 50, still hit them at 100, but they're not, I mean, they can take them out of the fight, don't get me wrong. A bullet hits you, but you definitely want those critical center mass hits for vital organs and shit. But again, a hit is a hit. And you see out here with the 36 yard, 300 yard zero, after 300, you're dead center, you're pretty much center mass on that target. And that 400 yards, again, you're neutering people. So that's for the 10.5. Now, granted, most people are not going to be using 77 grain projectiles in their 10.5. It's either going to be 62 or fucking 55 grain ammunition. And so if someone is going to ask me, again, it's up to you. I would say go with a 36 yard zero because it gets you out to 300 center mass. But understand that most ranges don't have that. And what I'll do is I'll include where to find a 36 yard target for a 25 yard range. All right, I'll do that at the end. All right, so now we're on to our 14.5 inch AR15. Again, we have our velocities and our ammunition. All right, so with a 50 yard zero with a 14.5, for the most part, 200, you're dead center mass, right? Don't have to hold at all out to 200. 300, you really don't have to hold because you're still center mass, but you are dropping a bit. You see at the 100 yard zero, again, out to 200 center mass. At 300, you're dropping a little bit more, right? So right below, right here at a 50, you're kind of right below the rib cage. At 100 yards, with a 100 yard zero, my bad, you're hitting them in the belly button. Now, again, 300 yard zero, out to 300, you were center mass. 400 yards, instead of neutering people, you're hitting them in the belly button. So you can kind of see the drop from that was a what, M193. So you see how far you're hitting with a 10.5, 300 yard zero at 400, right? You're neutering him. But with a 14.5, you're hitting him in the belly button. So the extra velocity from 3,000 feet compared to 2,700 feet, you can see the difference. So that is the 14.5 with a 50, 100, and 36 yard zero using 55 grain M193. All right, next we got green tip coming out of 14.5. Again, common, the same hits are pretty much the same. You're hitting a little bit lower with the M855 because, again, 3,000 feet, 2,800 feet. So the 62 grain projectile is not coming out as fast as the M193, but you do have that penetrator capabilities with the M855. So it's a trade-off. As you can see, still out to 300, you can still hit your target. 200 yards, you don't have to hold. Same thing with the 50 yard zero, don't have to hold. 36 yard zero, again, center mass out to 300, and you're basically hitting in the same spot as the M193. All right, and so now down to 77 grain, right? And so we can see, again, this is moving slower than the M855 and slower than the M193. But our drops, yeah, we got a little bit more of a drop. As you see up here, is kind of hitting him below the rib cage. Now we're right above his belly button. But still the holes are pretty consistent. Out of 200 center mass, out of 200 center mass, 36 yard zero, 300 yards, center mass, 400, you're hitting him in the belly button, right? And so I already did the 16-inch, but since we're here, I'll go over. And so you can see 16-inch barrel, 55 grains, where your hits will be. All right. So you can see the longer the barrel length, the less drop your bullets are having, because the extra barrel length is giving them that extra velocity. See, a 16-inch AR is coming out with 3,100 feet per second. A 14.5 is 3,000 feet. A 10.5 is 2,700 feet. So the shorter the barrel, the less velocity. All right, yep, going too far. And so you can see your hits with the 16-inch, 55 grain projectile. Now we move on down to the M855, the green tip. Again, pretty much consistent. 50 yard zero, pretty much out to 300. You don't have to hold. Again, 100 yard zero, you're getting low at 300, but you're still able to hit your target. And then with the 300 yard zero, 400 yards, you're able to just hold at dead center at your target and still get rounds on him, right? So again, that's why I really recommend the 36 yard zero, 300 yard zero, however you want to say, because it just gives you that extra 100 yards instead of this drop right here. I can still be just dead center at 300. Here we go with the Mark 262, and you can see all your hits with the Mark 262. Again, same thing. 300 yards for the 50 yard zero, you're hitting. 100 yard zero, you're hitting. 400 yards, you're hitting. All right. So now to our last barrel length, the 18-inch barrel. Now this barrel length is very common for guys who want to build, Mark 12 clones, or just want to have a SPR, special purpose rifle, or a DMR, designated marksman rifle, right? So this is like a barrel length, like if you want to shoot 500 yards, 600 yards further, you want to look at an 18-inch barrel. You can go that distance with a 16, right? But as you can see, you're getting a little bit extra velocity. When you're shooting out the distance, you're gonna want that extra velocity. And so, as you can see, with the M193 out to 300 with an 18-inch barrel, your holds are looking like a 36 yard zero with an 18-inch barrel, and you're neutering people at 400. Now over here with a 100 yard zero, out to 300, you can get hits on target at the 400 yards. It's not even on paper. You're hitting way, way, way low. But with that 36 yard zero, out to 400 yards, you're getting aim center at the man's chest, and out to 400, you can get a hit on him. So, that's why. Now, granted, I have a 16-inch DMR, but I zeroed for 62 grain at the 36 yard zero, 300 yards. And so when we're shooting on man-sized targets, you don't have to dial. All you gotta do is, you dead center, so you just gotta hold either a little high or hold a little low. But as you can see with the chart, everything is pretty much high. 50 yards you're aiming higher, 100 yards high, 200 high, 300 you're back down center, and then it drops at 400. So 62 grains, you see all your hits where they land. Again, 50 dead center, out 300, pretty much center out to 200 for 100 yard zero, center for 300. And now we move on to the Mark 262, which is basically, honestly, what this round was designed for. The Mark 262 770 grain projectile was made for the DMR, the Mark 12 SPR 18-inch barrel rifle. And so, again, you see your velocities. You see your velocity, but you also see where your hits are. And so I'm gonna let you guys look at that. All right. So hopefully, guys, this video was educational for you. Hopefully, this teaches you something that the other YouTubers don't really show you guys. And I want to put a disclaimer that these aren't guarantees. These are really rough estimations. So again, when you go to the range, understand what is your mission. Like I said in the last video, find your mission first, then dictate your gear. What is it that you want your AR to do? Now, if you're using the AR for car defense, home defense, do you need an 18-inch, 16-inch barrel shooting Mark 262s? No. No, you can honestly get you a 10.5 and use either M855 green tips or M193. You can zero at 50 yards. See where your hits are. You're good all the way out to, what is it, 200 yards? Yeah, so after 200 yards with a 50 yard zero, dead center. So again, if this is your car gun, home defense gun, you're not shooting out to 200. 50 yards might even be far for you, but that's still a good range to have, because you kind of know where you're shooting at. Now, if you're using this rifle, let's say you're doing short butt shit, you want to do that type of training, then it's probably better. Now you could use 50, but it'd probably be better to use a 36 300 yard zero. It just gives you that extra 100 yards of hit capability, I guess you want to say, instead of having your 50 yard zero and you're hitting low in his belly button at 50 yards. You get that 36 300 yard zero. Now that 300 yard hit at his belly button is now dead center in his chest. It's just things like that you gotta really think about before you go out and buy shit. So hopefully this video helps. If you're sitting there considering what do I want for an AR, well, now sit back and watch this video and think, what is it that I want this gun to do? What is it that I will find myself most likely in? You're watching this video, most of you are probably civilians. So civilians, law enforcement, security, I don't see there's too many military people. They have their own little doctrine for shit. As for us, we don't. We got to kind of make our own doctrine. And so again, understand what you're gonna find yourself in. For most people, I can't say. I don't know what most people. It's up to you, to be honest. Find what you like. Find what suits your needs, and then go after it. Do research. Once you've done your research, then buy it and get out there and train with it. That's the most important thing. Doing all the research, buying all the top shit doesn't do any good. Like watching these videos about zeros doesn't do you any good unless you actually take your gun out, go to the range, and shoot at distances if you can. So if you do have a 300 yard range, if you're one of those lucky people, 200, 300, even 100 yard range, still take your gun out there and see where you're hitting. If the farthest range you got is 100 yards, but your gun's 0 to 50, cool. All right, go to that 100 yard range, hold dead center. Where are your rounds and your rifle impacting on that target? All right, because again, these charts are estimations, right? They tell you the barrel length and the round, but they don't really tell you, the barrel. They don't tell you if it's indoors, outdoors, is it windy, are they standing, are they laying down, are they bench rest shooting? There's so many variables that go into it, what type of barrel they're using. Are they using like a Criterion barrel, Ballistic Advantage, Roscoe, or are they just using like a PSA, a Bear Creek Arsenal barrel? You know, so again, you're gonna have to really see these videos, give you kind of like I guess something to keep in mind, and then you go out, like, does my stuff actually meet up with what's being said here? And you know, you can find the differences and nuances, what's going on and what works for you specifically. But on top of that, hopefully it was helpful. Like, comment, subscribe. It helps with the algorithms because YouTube doesn't like my ass. I don't like YouTube, but here we are. So help a brother out. Like, comment, subscribe. Stay dangerous. LocsNLoad out.